I got it! So, our last movie for this marathon comes to us from the Bloody Chamber, both literally and from the source material. The Bloody Chamber is a collection of short stories written by Angela Carter, which all base themselves off fairy tale lore, but in a more adult and often horror-like manner, having been released in 1979. One of the stories, though, out of a possible 10 in the book, was adapted into a movie that was first released in 1984 in the UK, but later in the US in 1985. And that story was The Company of Wolves. The film was directed and partially written by Neil Jordan, with Angela Carter also having a hand in writing the screenplay. And like the book version, it also has mini stories interlaced into the plot. Knowing this, I have to ask, what am I getting myself into? What sort of experience will I get out of this gothic fantasy horror film about wolves and stuff? Let's find out. It begins by introducing members of our main character's family. Our main character in question is Rosalind, played by Sarah Patterson in her first film appearance. Georgia Slough plays her sister, Alice. David Warner is playing their father, while Tuss Selberg plays their mother. No names, just mother and father. Anyway, something must have happened recently for Rosalind to lock herself in her room while Alice is a total wench.
You have to come out sometime. You can't sulk in there forever. Open the door. At my lipstick too, haven't you? Pest! What makes you so different anyway? Bhakti.
We haven't heard her speak yet I can probably tell she's more likable than you, you little miserable brat. Of course, it's not like she's ignoring her sister's annoyance. She seems to be caught in a dream of sorts, which is where the bulk of this movie plays out. Also, Creepy Doll is creepy. She dreams that her sister got lost in an equally creepy forest of haunted toys and crap. Now, I do like the cinematography here with cutting to and from the dream world here, to make it seem like her personal belongings make up this dream world that's both scary and haunting. Like I'm just expecting her to pull a Freddy Krueger and kill her sister, if not inadvertently. What does do her in are a pack of wolves, who all have the best use of glowy orange eyes I've seen in a live-action film. So now the dream shifts over to the next day, where Alice is being put to rest. What, did they scare her to death, or did they really patch her up from all the wounds so they can have an open casket? Oh well, at least the funeral will be one of maturity and respect, and of course there's that one person to act childish. So once all that's done, Rosalind decides to spend the night with her granny.
Shall I take her home with me tonight? Her mother's in no fit state to look after her.
Oh my god, it's Angela Lansbury! Angela Lansbury is a renowned actress whose work dates back to the 1940s. Having starred in many films, radio, TV, and stage plays throughout her entire career. She's got this charm to her that just attracts you to her every time she speaks, even in her old age, as she tends to play characters who are snarky, quirky, and, from what I've seen, very bright. I mostly remember her from Beauty and the Beast and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, as well as that one show that I often watched growing up, Murder, She Wrote. At the house, we can see Granny make a red shawl out of yarn, thus establishing that, like in the book, this is influenced by Little Red Riding Hood. Granny warns her about the wolf that ate her sister.
A wolf may be more than he seems. He may come in many disguises.
What's that?
The wolf that ate your sister was hairy on the outside, but when she died, she went straight to heaven. The worst kind of wolves are hairy on the inside, and when they bite you, they drag you with them to hell.
This is gonna be about underage sex, isn't it? So she tells her a story about how this recently wedded couple were about to bed each other, which at first, it seems like typical romance. He finds her beautiful, she loves him, and she brings up how his eyebrows meet. This is important, don't you forget. But just before they can make out,
I must just go out into the yard for a moment.
Why ever for?
Call of nature.
So she waited, and she waited, and she waited again.
and this is why you never have your honeymoon out in the woods. Because if you don't have a toilet and have to go outside, you might get eaten. She gets remarried years later, has children, but uh-oh, he's back.
Where did these three spring from?
Out of my belly.
Your children, but not my children. Whore! Adulteress! You hoped I'd never come back!
Dude, you disappeared on her. She thought you were dead. What the hell was she supposed to do? She moved on with her life. That you could understand, right? And now for probably the most unique transformation method I've seen yet. Holy crap, it's the Reaper! Actually, it's worse than that. Damn! Usually they just grow hair and their snout forms after, but this is freaking nightmarish! Now he looks like something out of Resident Evil, but by the time the husband shows up and the former groom starts growing hair, he gets his head lopped off. The end!
I'd never let a man strike me.
Oh, they're nice as pie until they've had their way with you. But once the bloom is gone, oh, the beast comes out.
When the wolves, though, the real wolves, when the real wolves mate, do the dogs beat the bitches afterwards?
Animals. All wild animals.
As they sleep, this weasel seems to wake up. Not sure what that's about. Oh wait, it's her pet? Must be, because they pass by this python that seems out of place, and it hisses at it as they go by. We get better acquainted with the amorous boy. Yes, really. Who seems to be friends with her, despite how childish they can be. Not really sure what to make of them, honestly. But for a little while, things go slow as nothing really happens other than the suspense of something happening. Although, because mother and father made out last night, Rosalind feels the need to ask if he ever hurts her like wild animals do.
No, not at all.
Sounds like
Like what?
the beast Granny talked about.
You pay too much attention to your granny. She knows a lot, but she doesn't know everything.
Yeah, but her IMDb page says more about her than yours does. So the boy asks Rosalind to go into the woods with her after Sunday service. But speaking of boys, Granny has another story to tell. This time about how a boy ran into the devil. I never thought I'd see the day where General Zod attempts to be both the devil and Igor. Also, is that Sarah Patterson in a wig? He doesn't really offer much of an explanation to being here. He gives him some kind of bottle and tells him to waste not, want not. He rubs the stuff on his chest just as the car is slowly driving away, and it looks like he's going through rapid puberty. The forest doesn't like that and is even trying to stop him. This causes the real Rosalind to wake up, momentarily it seems, but the dream still continues. What's the point of this story?
It's not a story, child. It's the God's own truth. And so if you should spy on a naked man in the wood, run as if the devil himself were after you.
But he wasn't naked. No one was naked, in fact. I mean, the prelude was that priests have a chance of becoming werewolves. If on Christmas Day they're born feet first and have eyebrows that meet, then they run into the devil who gives them the power to transform? Maybe this is meant to explain Reverend Lowe from Silver Bullet. He must have met the devil who was trying out for a role in Persona 4. During church, a bunch of spiders start dropping on her book, with hardly any reaction from her, as I guess she doesn't mind them as much. She did touch one a scene earlier after all, and now for some reason people think she and that boy are a couple as they go into the woods. Naturally, he tries to flirt with her, but is constantly put down. She purposely goes off the path and goes up into this tree, only for this to happen. Careful, Rosalind. You've already committed several acts of inception. Don't die the way your sister did. The boy finds one of the cows killed, as well as the wolf who did it. Despite the fact that there's a wolf loose, the fact that Rosalind is missing causes quite a bit of a scene.
Rosalind! Don't you hit my boy! You precious son left my only daughter to the mercy of the wolf! A daughter's one thing, a heifer's another!
Man, so temperamental. Oh wait, there she is. The villagers go out into the woods to find the wolf, because it's the wolf's fault you left a couple cows out to be easily preyed on. And while they try luring it with a goose, Rosalind and Mother interact with each other about how Granny spoils her too much and all, which leads into this.
Granny says wolves might not always be what they seem.
How can a wolf be worse than it already is?
Not worse, but different. Maybe it isn't the wolf's fault, Mummy. Maybe.
Maybe what?
Maybe once upon a time.
Are you going to tell me a story?
There can be only one storyteller in this movie, and that's Angela. This time we got rich nobles in all their fancy makeup and wigs. Seriously, if this is what constitutes as fashion, I'm very glad I didn't grow up a British noble. Also nice to see one of them gets to have a visible tattoo without being ridiculed. It's someone's wedding party, so of course they overblow it with a cutlass cutting the cake. But now for an interruption.
So, I wasn't good enough for you. I was once. Once upon a time. The wolves in the forest are more decent.
Well, as many times I've seen Walking on Broken Glass, I have a feeling the outcome isn't that he leaves his new wife to return to his former lover. Nope. Instead, what happens is far sinister. Worgen were born. Gotta love how only the people at the table were affected, whereas the musicians, and I guess their guards, just stand and watch, somewhat amused by what just happened. They even bow to her, like they were always on her side.
Did you hear a story like that?
Not a story, but God's honest truth. Granny told me. And after that, the woman made the wolves come to sing to her and the baby at night. Made them come and serenade her.
Well, at least your story shows more of how ugly society can be at times. Anyway, the villagers find the wolf, trap it, and kill it. But surprise, the corpse turned into a man, just like in the first story. So now Rosalind has fully embraced her inner Little Red Riding Hood as she goes into the woods to meet her granny. She runs into a fancy-looking rich guy who has eyebrows that meet. He's also a huntsman, though why would a huntsman look like this? I expect either rugged, leather-bound, axe-wielding badass, or Chris Hemsworth. So I guess she just forgot about everything Granny taught her. At this point, I think she was teaching her about stranger danger, but with wolfmen. Look at how this guy acts.
Go on, bite it.
Too bad this is also the Middle Ages, so there's nothing anyone can do to stop this other than kick his ass.
Deserve to be punished.
He could probably do something terrible to you right now and you wouldn't be laughing anymore. He challenges her to find her granny's house before he can, and of course, she accepts. In an obvious twist, it's apparent that the huntsman that usually saves Red in the end is actually the wolf.
I don't come from hell. I came from the forest.
What have you done with my granddaughter?
Nothing she didn't want.
What is it with these movies that always finds me at least one thing to really laugh at? Unfortunately, not even Jessica Fletcher can prevent her own death, with a slap to the head that decapitates her and turns her into a statue. Well, the rest goes without saying. He waits for Rosalind in her chair, only he doesn't even bother hiding the fact he's dangerous. In the book, this would be the part where the girl strips and seduces the wolf, possibly to sleep with them because gothic horror. Here though, while she seems to still be turned on by him, she doesn't want herself to be unprotected, and she ends up shooting him.
Oh, you are kind. Oh, they're kind.
Not one nor the other. Both.
Then where do you live? In our world or theirs?
I come and go between them. My home is nowhere.
Guess that makes sense. Now what will you do?
Indeed, I won my bet. So now, you owe me
I remember.
a kiss. Will you be honorable and pay me?
Jesus, what big teeth you have!
She said it! After transforming back into his wolf form, one of the more unique methods of transformation that even made it onto the poster, she tells him another story, this time of a she-wolf who, like the hunter, came from another world below man. While meaning no harm, she is still shot, and ends up at a church where she turns human and very feral looking at that.
Poor, speechless creature. It will heal in time.
And the wound did heal. For she was just a girl after all, who'd strayed from the path in the forest and remembered what she'd found there.
And of course, it ends with her going back to the world below. Back into the world of Undertale, no less. The villagers show up and find she too has become a werewolf. And then they were off, back into the forest of misshapen toys. Soon the boundaries between reality and the dream collide, as even they start pouring into the real world. And right into her bedroom.
say, never stop upon your way. Never trust a stranger friend. No one knows how it will end. As you're pretty, so be wise. Wolves may lurk in every guise.
And with that, she was never seen again. Either she was eaten by her own dreams, or she's probably in the mental ward somewhere. But that's The Company of Wolves for ya. It's certainly an interesting little horror flick. It may run slow at times, but it has a genuine haunting atmosphere. The effect work gone into a lot of these werewolf characters are probably the most gruesome I've seen yet. The stories tell a lot on what it means to trust strangers without heeding the warning of potential danger, how they can come to being, and even how some just have no place in the world and not know how to deal with it. At times, though, I almost feel like this didn't need to be somebody's dream sequence gone awry. It could have just been a straight-up fairy tale about a girl who loses her sister and learns how to avoid the same fate. But it does what it needs to in teaching these morals, and it does well enough where it's entertaining and scary. It's got plenty of good performances to boot, so all in all, this is a really good movie. I highly recommend you checking this one out. And I do hope someone decides to make more film adaptations to some of the other Bloody Chamber stories that have yet to be told. Thus ends the Werewolf-athon for this year, but there's still one more movie to review for Halloween. Now let's see, what did they leave me? Uh-oh. Oh no.